Processing. Well, sounds a bit dull, doesn't it? Just moving sliders around in Photoshop or Lightroom. Well, not really. Processing, of course, it's important. It's essential because you want to get the best out of the shot you took. And it doesn't have to be a chore. It can actually be fascinating. I'm fascinated by it because it's the time at which I get the opportunity to relive the shots that I was taking and think about why I was taking the shot and what I was trying to get out of it. So a lot of the time, maybe most of the time, when you see the subject of processing come up, it's generally treated as if how the programs work, how Photoshop works, how Lightroom, Aperture, moving sliders. Well, that's about as interesting as driving instruction in a parked car showing you how the gear shift moves without actually driving. If there's a secret to processing, successful processing, and there must be, because all the time I see people doing it all the way from very good to very badly, then it's that you actually have to start from scratch with every image that you process. Now, I don't actually process hundreds of images because, frankly, I don't take that many good ones. So I'm very selective. So what I do first is think about, before even twiddling anything, to think about what it is that I need to get out of that image. This is what print processing for film used to be like. Now, in a wet darkroom, the clock was always running, literally. So you didn't have much time. And that meant that you had to decide in advance how you were going to print a negative. And it's not a bad lesson for digital photography either. Thinking first what you were trying to achieve and making a plan of how you're going to do it. The clock isn't running, you can take your time. But if you don't know what you're aiming for, then you're likely just to be experimenting. Well, experimenting's fine, but frankly, processing an image that's important isn't the place to do it. So what I do is start thinking about it, and I've got a kind of mental checklist. And first, what was the point of the shot? What attracted me to it, and what was I trying to achieve? Second, how can the processing help? They always can. Maybe not to a great degree, maybe a lot, but in terms of brightness, contrast, colour, and so on. Third, related to this, what kind of look do I want from the image? Fourth, are there any obvious problems? Any special needs that a particular image may have? Fifth, how much local adjustment is likely to be needed? Because that adds a lot of time, a lot of effort to doing processing, using a brush or using a grad filter. And lastly, can I do it all in the raw processor? Because frankly, you ought to be able to. This series is designed to show you basically how I process, but how it's not a chore, it's interesting, it's fascinating, and we're going to do it one by one. And each time we're starting afresh, and we're starting from the needs of the image, not doing it in any automated or mechanical way. So let's get started.